Allen Lund Company has new offices in Ogden, Utah and Indianapolis, Indiana. Check allenlund.com to reach them.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Scott Thompson.
Thanks for joining us on this Monday. Scott here, keeping the seat warm for host Mark Reddick while he's away. We've got a lot to get to, starting with the news of the day here in just a moment. After that, we'll catch up with the folks at Pilot Flying J. They're giving thanks to professional drivers like you throughout the month of September. We'll get details on that, plus the launch of this year's Road Warrior contest. Then we'll check in with Dwayne Vorst, an OOIDA member, who just hit 3 million safe driving miles, for a talk about his career. And we'll close things out by taking a hard look at a ballot measure in the state of Washington that will decide whether stricter emissions regulations remain in place there. Mike Kucharski, co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking, breaks down what's at stake. So we've got a busy show ahead of us. But first, today's news. Let's jump into a couple stories that deserve a little attention today. Tyson Fisher, associate editor of Landline Magazine, joins us. Tyson, good to see you.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
So late last week, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration released new data about the number of fatal crashes in the U.S. over the first half of 2024. And the big takeaway here is that these numbers are on the decline. Tyson, kind of walk us through what we learned from the new data and just how much they are down across the board.
Yeah, so this is the mid-year report card, basically. So, so for the first half of this year, traffic fatalities are down 3% compared to the first half of last year. That's been pretty consistent for the past about 2 years. So I think for the past 7 consecutive quarters, there has been a decrease in traffic fatalities. So I mean that's the good news. Good, I mean, yeah. And there's nothing bad about that whatsoever. So,
however,
I always come with a caveat of some sort. So basically 7 consecutive quarters traffic fatalities, but that was preceded by several quarters of increases. And that's the thing. That's rare. To have a traffic fatality increase streak has only happened twice in the past 40 years. Mm-hmm. And that was right after the pandemic, so around 2022 or 2020 to 2022. Right. And then I think shortly before that, I think it's around 2017 is when it happened. But before that, since at least the 80s, traffic fatalities have been on a downward trend, and that has been the case with a few upticks here and there, but we've been going down. So what happened was in 2020, the pandemic happened, and so traffic fatalities actually went up significantly. A lot. Which kind of defied logic because there's fewer cars on the road. But basically,
we saw how people were driving.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense.
So people saw the open highways, ooh, Autobahn. And so basically what we're seeing right now with this 7-quarter traffic fatality decrease is basically we're trying to regain the ground that we had lost with the pandemic. So, in 2021, traffic fatalities increased by almost 12%. That's the largest 1-year increase in more than 40 years. Yeah. And so that brought us, that was more than 43,000 traffic fatalities that year. The last time that happened was in 2005. So we're talking about 15, 16 years of progress erased in that 1 year. And so since then, basically when it comes to traffic fatalities, we have been slowly trying to go back to those pre-pandemic levels, which is around 36,000. So that's kind of where we're there. So we're just kind of getting there. Okay. So, but the key takeaway is, since about 2022, we are on that track back to normalcy. And so hopefully we'll get there and then we'll continue to see this downward trend. Yeah.
And should be mentioned too that this decrease came as vehicle miles traveled actually went up in the first half of 2024, which kind of solidifies this thought that we are returning to, use the word normalcy there, I almost want to say sanity. It feels like we're kind of getting back to a place where people are driving maybe a little more sane on the roads, and people listening may have different thoughts out there after what they see. But It feels like we're getting back to a place where where, again, some sanity is being returned to the roadways. We're not nowhere near where we want to be in terms of traffic fatalities, but again, progress is progress. The pandemic threw everything into a spiral here. Also kind of related here, we've been tracking trucking jobs. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says more than 1,000 trucking jobs were eliminated from the economy in August. 5 straight months of losses now. Talk a little bit about what's behind the decrease here, and it does have a pandemic kind of link, right?
So during the pandemic, the silver lining of that was that the freight rate skyrocketed. Huge demand for trucking there, and so what happened as a result is a surge, a tsunami of new entrants into the trucking industry occurred to take advantage of those high rates. Well, what happened was eventually, again, going back to that road to recovery, back to pre-pandemic levels, the demand for freight started to, stabilize a little bit. The problem was we had the surge of new truckers come in or in new carriers. So we have lower supply or lower demand, but the same amount of surge in supply as far as truck drivers. So overcapacity is the word here. Overcapacity is a word that we've been hearing since at least 2022. That's the reason why the rates have dropped significantly.
Yeah.
So what's happening, what's been happening, is that the market's trying to correct itself. There's too many truck drivers. A lot of carriers are trying to take care of that by eliminating some. There's just too much capacity.
Right.
And past 5 months, there has been a loss in trucking jobs. I talked to David Spencer. He's the vice president of market intelligence at Arrive Logistics when it comes to economics and stuff like that. Brilliant guy, much smarter than me when it comes to this thing. Yeah. And he kind of confirmed that. He's saying that his interpretation was that drivers and carriers are, the way he said it, they're throwing in the towel. People have been trying to stay afloat with the low rates,
at least until the turnaround comes.
Until the turnaround comes,
not coming.
Which is not soon
yet.
enough.
Yeah.
And so what happened is people are just kind of starting to drop like flies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we don't necessarily want to see people, losing jobs or leaving, but that equilibrium is kind of where we need to be to overcorrect that overcapacity issue.
Right.
And who knows where we are, how long it's going to be, but, we're getting there. And this is just another indication that we're not quite where we want to be yet, but in due time.
Yeah.
Tyson, we'll leave it there. You can check out his work on landline.media. These 2 stories and many more, again, on the website and in the magazine itself. Tyson, we appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
A couple other headlines we're following today. Wabash National was just hit with a nuclear verdict. A Missouri jury found the trailer manufacturer liable for $462 million in damages for a deadly crash that happened back in 2019. 2 people were killed when a passenger car traveling at a high rate of speed struck the back of a 2004 Wabash trailer that had slowed down for construction. The victim's family sued, arguing that the Wabash trailer should have been outfitted with a better rear impact guard to prevent underride crashes. Wabash noted that the trailer was in compliance with regulatory standards that existed in 2004 when it was built. A jury disagreed. Wabash says it's looking into all legal options in response. And OOIDA has signed on to a coalition letter supporting H.R. 7198, known as the Prove It Act. The bill would force federal agencies to consider the effect regulations have on small businesses before moving forward with them. The bill is scheduled to be marked up by a House committee on Tuesday. Much more show to come after the break. We'll find out what Pilot has planned for Truck Driver Appreciation Month, and we'll catch up with an OOIDA member who just hit 3 million safe driving miles. Then an extensive talk about Washington State's emissions regulations, which are on the ballot in November. Whatever happens there could have big consequences for the trucking industry. All of that coming up, so stay tuned. Landline Now returns right after this.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Capital Reman is your leading source for quality remanufactured engines and components. Capital Reman stands ready to serve all OOIDA members to help reduce costly engine repairs or replacement. Visit capitalreman.com today and use code OOIDA10 to save.
Penske is the trusted source for quality used trucks. Whether you search our website, call our sales staff, or bid at our online auction, you are sure to find the right used truck for your business. Visit PenskeUsedTrucks.com to view our inventory and learn more.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now, welcome back. Pilot is giving thanks to professional drivers like you throughout the month of September. Part of the celebration is the annual Road Warrior Contest. We're talking $30,000 in prizes going out to the industry's most determined, dedicated, and hardworking professionals who go the extra mile to keep our nation moving. For details on that, plus the other things Pilot has planned for Driver Appreciation Month, we reached out to Jordan Spradling, Vice President of Transportation and Logistics at Pilot, and we found out it's going to be a busy month, all of it designed to say thank you.
To start out, just to kind of tell a little bit about the big picture, our customers, our professional drivers really run North America. You know, we really want this chance to give back to them. And at Pilot, we have the benefit of also having our own fleet of drivers, which I manage that team day to day, and they do an awesome job. It's about 2,500 drivers we have. So it's a great opportunity to celebrate not just our customers, but our own internal drivers with this month. And a few things we're doing this year to do that. First, we'll have exclusive savings and offers in our app. So if you post into our app, you'll be able to find things like drink discounts and other types of promotions in there. And then the second big piece that we're excited about is this Road Warrior Contest. We do this every year. We're doing something a little bit different this year. Every Monday, we'll post on our Facebook account. You can also find on our website. We'll be posting the opportunity for folks to submit their selection for who they think should be a road warrior. And each week we'll select a person to win a $1,000 prize. And at the end, we will have a $25,000 grand prize. So very excited about that. And then a couple other things we're doing. Folds of Honor. Pilot has been a big supporter of our veterans for a long time, and excited to do this partnership with Folds of Honor, where we will donate $50,000 for scholarships for those looking to earn a CDL in particular. So exciting partnership on that. And last but not least, our partnership with NASCAR. If you keep up with NASCAR, Sammy Smith is our driver. Look forward to seeing him at the Bristol Motor Speedway night race in the end of September 21st. And he's going to have a special wrap on his car that's going to showcase driver appreciation themes. So excited to see that.
Yeah, as I said off the top, September is clearly a busy month, and you got a lot going on. I kind of want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned there. The Road Warrior Contest, first of all. How long has Pilot been holding the contest? Do you know?
Several years now. It's something that people get excited about.
Yeah.
Each year we try to do something a little bit different, and with different prize packages, different promotions, and I think we've seen more and more submissions each year as it gets out. So, again, several years running.
Yeah, and I think most people out there are probably familiar with the Road Warrior Contest and what it is and who you're looking for out there. But for those who may not be familiar, can you kind of explain what the contest is designed to do and, how it all came about?
Sure. Yeah, I think the idea, we all think of in our day-to-day at Pilot, we see these kind of heroes of the road, these folks that are out there, long nights on the road, people that are away from their families 3 or 4 weeks before they get home. And it's our chance to celebrate these heroes. And so we opened up the opportunities for people to tell the story about the heroic drivers in their lives. And again, the submissions we've seen have been overwhelming of stories, emotional outpourings of various things that they've seen. And so it's a chance to recognize and submit someone, as we say, who's had some sort of heroic either feat on the road or something that makes them truly stand out as a special character as a truck driver. So excited to see these submissions this year. Always have some wonderful people that we get to highlight each year with this.
Yeah, and personally, I love when they're announced and you hear all the stories from the people who are doing good things out there. I think most people know that truck drivers, as a group, are a very giving community, and very willing to help when and where they can. And this really is just a testament to that. I think the fact that you honor them and give thanks to them really does speak volumes about where you're all coming from in particular. The stories themselves and the people you meet. I mean, I imagine that it's pretty gratifying for you to talk with these people, meet with these people, read their stories, and you're sharing it with everybody. That's a beautiful thing, right?
Absolutely. In my role at Pilot, managing our fleet, it's funny. I hear these stories quite a bit about our drivers, but it's never from our drivers. It's from our guests and our customers who write letters saying, I had a flat tire at your store and your truck driver came out and changed my tire. And I call our driver about it. He's like, oh, it's just another day. And that's the neat part, is just the chance to say, you may see it as just another day, but we want to celebrate what you're doing every day as heroic. So that's the fun part. That's the exciting part for us.
Yeah. And just walk me real quick through the nomination process. If somebody is interested in nominating somebody out there, I know there's going to be people, a lot of submissions. What should they do? Where can they go if they want to do that?
The best place to go is to the Pilot Flying J Facebook page. So you'll see every Monday through the month of September, we'll have a new post. So there'll be a new chance to submit every week. So go to that page. There'll be some more details about the contest and the forms that you'll need to submit for your submission. But go to that page every Monday. And again, there'll be a winner selected every week, and then the grand prize at the end of the month. It's also available on our Pilot Flying J website, but Facebook's probably the best place to get to it there.
Absolutely. As we kind of close things out here, Jordan, I'm wondering, obviously you're dedicating an entire month to professional drivers and your professional drivers as well there. Any kind of final message for them here as you do celebrate the community and all they're doing out there? What would you like them to know here at the end?
Yeah, I think, as I said, we truly look forward to this opportunity to honor the professional driver. Not only are they our guests and our customers, but we do believe that they are moving America forward. They're out there every day sacrificing being away from their families. And it's all ultimately for us, the consumers in America. So it's the least we can do as Pilot. We try to do everything we can do to make it feel like home for them. We feel like we're the home away from home for the drivers. So, they're using our facilities for food, for showers, for a place to relax. And we take that opportunity very seriously to give them our best service that we can. So, again, we look forward to this month. It's our favorite month of the year. Really, really excited about all the promotions we get to have. And again, just to say thank you to these awesome professional drivers, the men and women that are out there every day on the roads.
Couldn't say it any better myself. Our thanks to Jordan Spradling of Pilot. For more information about the Road Warrior contest, head to pilotflyingj.com/Road Warrior. We're about to catch up with an OOIDA member who recently celebrated 3 million miles behind the wheel as a leased-on owner-operator for Landstar. And on top of that, Dwayne Vorst also received the company's BCO Lifetime Achievement Award after 41 years and counting of work there. As we found out here, Vorst has no plans to walk away anytime soon.
I basically have been driving since I had a driver's license. And like a lot of guys, I started on the farm and basically drove around the farm when I was 14 years old. I run farm equipment. And, like I said, like a lot of guys, and I'm not the only one, a lot of guys, you grew up on a farm and just kind of gravitated towards that type of occupation, whether it's trucking or construction or anything else like that. And the first trucking job I actually got paid on, because I did stuff for my dad, hauling equipment around and stone and stuff like that, was hauling sugar beets for my uncle when I was a senior in high school at 17 years old. And $2 an hour with all the hours you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was in 1975.
So you got started there and then just kept going, huh?
Yeah, pretty well. I entertained the idea of working in General Motors factory, but they wouldn't hire me because I was still in high school. So when I graduated from high school, I needed a job, so I drove dump truck, hauled asphalt, and did a lot of other stuff. I had a Teamster job for a couple of years, hauled groceries and stuff like that, to grocery warehouses, which was a job I knew there was no future in that. I didn't like dealing with them people. And I gravitated towards flatbed type of work because it was pretty similar to hauling machinery. And spent a year with Spectre Freightways, and they went out of business, and kind of wanted to stay in the union, so spent a couple months with Yellow Freight, and basically had a union card, and benefits, but no paycheck to show for it. And I knew Enway, which is Independent Freightways, which would be Landstar. I knew their system and I liked it. So basically, December 1st, 1982, I signed on with Enway, which turned out to be Landstar Enway, and the rest is pretty well what I've done. I worked out of Toledo, Ohio, at a Toledo terminal, which is 70 miles from where I live, and I knew the agent and did pretty good with him. We worked pretty good together. And over the years, then I struck up a relationship with some boys out of the Chicago area, which I did LTL work for about 30 years out of the Chicago, Milwaukee, Gary, Indiana area. And when that kind of slowed down, I went back to where I live, and that kind of started running stuff for Lime, out of the Lime, Ohio area. That's where I live.
Gotcha. So yeah, you've been driving for, I'm doing the math here, almost 50 years. Is that right? I guess, and with Landstar for about 41 of those.
Yeah, Landstar will be 42 in
42,
December.
okay.
I'll be with Landstar.
Gotcha. So I mean, and over that time, I think you are, was it 3 million safe driving miles? Is that right? And counting, I guess.
Yeah, 3.2 or something like that. That's with Landstar. I had.
Yeah.
I had some with. I worked with Craig Transportation, where I hauled groceries for them for 2.5 years, and had a year with Spectre with them. And
yeah, that's obviously that's a lot of miles, a lot of safe driving miles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people, coming up in the industry right now, maybe learning the ropes, and there may be some people who have been in the industry for a little bit longer, still learning the ropes there. But I mean, what would you tell them? I mean, in terms of safe driving, it seems like to me like it's pretty much common sense. But what would you say to those people out there who maybe are starting out about the key to safe driving?
Kind of know your limitations. That sounds like a Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
Know your limitations for one thing, and don't be pushed. And that goes for not just shippers and receivers, but sometimes your own family. I've had situations with. I got a very large family, sisters and brothers and relation. It's like, hurry up and get home. Now that's the stupidest thing to say to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's a recipe for disaster. It really is. And I've had to kind of grill some of my relation on that. Is don't be telling people to get in a hurry. All you're doing is you're entertaining the idea of some sort of damn disaster. That probably is one of the most irritating things that I had. Where people hurry up and get there. That's one of the things I would recommend. Don't be pushed. Whether it's the weather.
Yeah.
Which can living up north, around the Great Lakes, that can be a real challenge. That's the only,
for sure.
As far as safety wise, just take your time with it.
Solid advice there from Dwayne Vorst, who says he has no plans to retire, but adds he might start working a little less in the months to come when he signs up for Social Security. We're not retiring either, but we do need to take a break, so stay tuned. Landline Now is back right after this.
Truckdown.com. Whenever you have a breakdown, you need Truckdown.com. 24/7 access to 40,000 verified heavy-duty repair vendors nationwide. Truckdown verified, vendor qualified. Truckdown.com.
Firestone tires are for more of everything, with more durability for more miles and more confidence in your fleet. Firestone's tested tires help fleets save with value where it matters most. Learn more at bridgestonenationalfleet.com/4moremiles.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a cat scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forget miss accuracy when your truck on a cat scale.
When we talk about emission regulations, most people immediately think of the Federal Environmental Protection Agency or about CARB, the California Air Resources Board. But in fact, other states and other government entities have put rules in place regarding emissions, including Washington State. You're listening to Landline Now, and I'm your host, Mark Redding. Welcome back to the program. Early last year, that state put into place its Climate Commitment Act, a law that targets the emissions for various industries, but also covers vehicles that use gasoline or diesel fuel. And what the law requires is pretty extreme, at least from truckers' point of view. Essentially, those sources of emissions must reduce their output to 95% of their output in 1990, and do so by the year 2050. That, of course, raises many of the same questions people are asking about California and federal initiatives that seem to be pushing for trucking to move to zero direct emission vehicles, such as electric. Among those asking questions is Mike Kucharski, the co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking of Illinois. Kucharski has appeared on a number of national news programs, including this one, speaking out on trucking issues. I spoke with him recently about the situation in Washington State and what carriers might be forced to do in order to cope. So let's start off with this. Probably a lot of folks are not aware of this or don't know the details of this. Can you explain in layman's terms what the Washington State Climate Commitment Act is and what it's designed to do?
So I read the article and it's a little confusing. So what they're trying to do in layman's terms, I believe so, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to impose extra taxes for diesel fuels and for truckers, but they're giving a 5-year slide, I believe, for agriculture, transportation. So that means, if you have anything to do with agriculture, you're exempt. But there's a problem with this. All the product, there's a lot of agriculture in the state of Washington, but not as much as everybody thinks, like not as much as the state of California. But we are hauling food products. And what about the products that we're bringing in that are not agriculture products? For example, JKC, we specialize in frozen refrigerated, so we're bringing the good people to Washington. Frozen bread, meats, hot dogs, cheeses, Greek food, gyros, very delicious. All kinds of product that we're bringing that the people of Washington State consume. We're not going to be exempt. And how's this? If we don't get a load, let's say if Apple's coming back, so that I believe that is going to cover the exemption, but that's not going to be enough because, how's this? Since COVID, I don't have to tell you, but the trucking industry has been dealing with the shockwave that COVID has caused. All our costs have skyrocketed, gone up, fuel's gone up. We're struggling to stay in business. On top of that, inflation is killing the American people. Going to a grocery store, gives me anxiety. I have a small family. I'm sure the American people feel the same way. And because of this inflation, we're dealing with volume volatility, which is another problem because what that means is that the volumes of consumption have gone down because American people can't afford it. And the truckers are fighting for the product that's going to all over the U.S. And it goes to the lowest bidder, even though our costs are higher than ever. So yeah, it makes it very difficult to bring product. So to summarize, it's going to cost more for the truckers for us to operate in the state of Washington. You might as well just throw in California and Oregon because they're all kind of the same boat. It's going to cost us more to do our job and feed the American people. So what happens is, all this gets trickled down to the end user, the American people. It's going to hit the people on the West Coast and right in the wallet.
Okay. Now, I know some aspects of this. I know they require basically anyone covered by this act to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 95% from 1990 levels. And this is by, I guess, 2050, so years from now, but still 95% from 1990 levels. And that kind of raised a point to me right away, is how emissions compare now with those in 1990. And could this end up being more than a 95% reduction from what we're dealing with today?
Yeah, it's crazy what's happening, because, how's this? I support green energy, and I believe the truckers do support green energy. But it's extremely frustrating, and I don't agree with these regulations because they're not practical. Banning diesel is impractical and impossible. How's this? To give you an example, there's one coalition, I forget what they're called, the Clean Air Act Coalition, I believe so, that did a study that a truck from 1986 gives off the same emissions as 60 current new semi-trucks give off, which I think is a huge step in the right direction. And for these emissions that are put on their trucks, they're doing their job. Are they practical? Do they work for the truckers? I would say no, but that's probably for a separate interview. But we're going in the right direction, and how's this? Charging more for diesel is not going to bring it down because we don't have other technology to replace it with. And everybody's like, well, we'll replace it with EVs. Sure, okay, but what would they charge these EVs? And how's this? There's a problem with EVs. Say there's 5 points that I have an issue with EVs. The costs are astronomical. Infrastructure, we're not ready. Power grid's not ready. There's not enough charging stations. There's not enough parking stations for trucks right now, let alone charging stations. The testing and data on these trucks is being done right now, which is kind of scary because how's this? How are these trucks going to perform in the elevations of Washington and the mountains? How are they going to perform in Death Valley, 100-degree heat, or minus 25 degrees in Montana in the winter? Because one of the main ways to kill a lithium battery, or any battery, I believe so, is extreme heat and extreme cold, which people don't understand. And if we move away from this technology, we need a proven technology. We need something better than what we have right now. But also, fourth point was driving range, or I like to call it range anxiety. These trucks go make like 300 miles. It's a complete joke because we're long haul truckers. So when my truck leaves Illinois, it's 2,100 miles each way to the state of Washington. So we're barely get out of Illinois. If you and I jump in a truck, we're gonna have to shut down and recharge for 12 hours. So it's gonna make the trip much longer. Like I said, impractical. And then the fifth point, we're gonna have less cargo capacity due to the weight of the batteries. I believe these batteries are gonna be 8,000 pounds each, 16,000 pounds extra to the truck, which is going to also cause safety issues in my opinion. But we're regulated to 80,000 pounds gross to go over the interstates in the U.S. So two things are going to happen. They're going to have to either lift the weight restriction, or we're going to have to take less cargo due to these batteries,
which is going to put more trucks on the road.
Correct, more trucks on the road, and how's this? I believe the truckers need an affordable hybrid truck. I like to see a hybrid truck with two systems of power. Why? Because right now we have diesel. When a diesel goes down, I would like to, set up run another system, even if it be electric. That'd be great, just so we could keep going. One shuts down, we could continue with the other. Because if this technology fails, the entire supply chain will be dead in the water. Failure is not merely going to be inconvenient; it's going to be catastrophic for the American people. It can't be. And don't get me wrong. There might be some super technology that comes out, some battery that goes in a truck that, we could charge up in 20 minutes and it goes 2,000 miles with a charge through all the heat. I do believe in miracles. I haven't seen this technology yet, but how's this? Diesel is still the only way to go, in my opinion.
One of the other aspects of this law in Washington state is what they call a cap and trade program, where every business has got a total amount of emissions that they can produce. And if they want to produce more, they can buy the right to produce more from businesses that didn't use all of their allowance. And I guess this is operating in Washington state at this point. I think so. Have you had to deal with that with your trucking operation in the state yet?
Not yet, but these crazy laws are coming, and it's not only coming from Washington. California is like leading the way with this stuff, and other states, which is kind of, like I said, it's impractical because us truckers, we're delivering food to American people. So we if anything, we should, get a discount because we're essential workers. We're feeding the people. How's this? A load of PlayStations is not as critical as food that we're hauling, I believe. Don't get me wrong, PlayStations are still, needed, but we need to make priorities here. And then they chose agriculture because they can say, oh, agriculture is the easy one. And agriculture, I feel, is the smaller one out of this, because when you look at the state of Washington, I would say the bulk of the product coming in is not agriculture, and agriculture season is short in Washington, in my opinion. I love Washington apples, but it's not going to cover, these high costs. We should be working together to lower these costs, not to bring them up. The people of Washington one day are going to wake up and have a rude awakening that they're going to pay $25 for a gallon of milk because of all these regulations. How's this? To give you an example, back in the day, pre-COVID, Washington, Oregon, the Northeast West was a very strong point for us. We were going to 40, 50 trucks a week to there. And now, because of the over-regulation in these states, it's hard to get drivers to go there. It's a beautiful drive. It's rough terrain in the winter, but the over-regulation the drivers have to deal with the police and then DOT stations. They say this is all for our safety. I'm all for the safety, but the safety should be the same through all the states. Not that we walk. It should be the same as Washington, as Illinois, as California, as Las Vegas. It shouldn't be any different. And this is the problem I have. It's much different. We could be pulling state to state is a huge burden on us. And how's this? I have hard time getting truckers to go to those states. We go now about 4 to 8 trucks a week. We used to go 40, 50. And the only reason I have 4 to 8 trucks a week is because I have drivers that live in those states and want to go to those states. So how's this? If I'm dealing with this problem, all the other trucking companies are dealing with this problem because they say, hey, look, I don't need this. Life is short. I'll go somewhere else. I'll go to Idaho. I'll go somewhere where I'm accepted. And I don't blame them. These drivers are trying to support their families.
As you're running into that, and I assume other carriers are as well, I would assume that the only way to get more truckers into those areas would be raising the rates that the truckers are paid. Is it having that effect at this point yet?
Yeah, so we're already seeing that. So the rates for the Northwest are already elevated pre-COVID. Because it's a difficult state to go to. Like I said, not all drivers want to go there, so the rates are just automatically already elevated. And with this fuel and these EPA regulations, they'll continue to go up. So how's this? They're going to be in a rude awakening when they wake up one day and they say, "Hey, look, why does it cost so much? Or why can't we get capacity to this state?" And it's going to all be on their legislation or rules that they pass. I've been saying forever that, the truckers need to sit down with the government so we could show them our problems, so we could educate them, show them our issues, so we can come up with solutions together. So this economy roaring again. And the problem we're having with these states, each state is like kind of acting like its own country, making these regulations, and we should be doing it as a whole, as a country, as the U.S. Last time I checked, to make this work. And it's I feel like we're fighting state to state, which is becoming very difficult to operate and run a trucking company.
That was Mike Kucharski, the co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking of Illinois. We'll be back with more of that conversation after a short break. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off Truckstop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2024 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
If you're running ultra-low sulfur diesel in your vehicle, make sure you are prepared and protected all winter long with Howes Diesel Treat, the #1 anti-gel product in North America from the 100-plus year trusted brand Howes Products.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Before the break, I was speaking with Mike Kucharski, the co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking of Illinois, about emission regulations in Washington state and how they're affecting trucking companies. We now rejoin that conversation in progress. One of the things that I'm curious about that I haven't seen addressed in any of this is how these regulations are going to affect fuel for reefer units, because obviously that's a big part of what you're doing. And traditionally, as I recall, reefers have been allowed to use a different type of fuel.
Correct.
Has this affected it? How has it affected it? What's going on there with reefer fuel?
No, and thank you for bringing it up. And I forgot to say that, not only are we burning diesel to, drive the product to the West Coast or wherever we go, we're running a reefer, which is the refrigeration unit in front of the trailer. It runs diesel. So legally, diesels are considered off-road equipment, like farm equipment, and we could run off-road fuel, which is that red fuel that you see out there. There are always people are testing it and using it because it has less taxes. I forget, like 15, 20 cents less off-road fuel. To save the truckers. That's a good question because I haven't seen that in that article. And what are they going to say to off-road fuel? I believe they didn't mention it, so it won't be affected. But how about this? I mean, all these changes come out of nowhere, so maybe they didn't catch that yet. But I would say, like agriculture, so the farmers are using this off-road diesel fuel to farm with. I mean, they could use it in their equipment, hauling the stuff because it's technically off-road. But I don't know what the future is going to tell because the state of Washington kind of makes these regulations up as they go. And I don't live there. Also, I live in Illinois, so we don't know. We'll see.
Kind of looking at this from kind of a devil's advocate point of view, as someone who buys a lot of fuel for your fleet, does it appear that this cap and trade situation is going to directly drive up fuel prices? Or are we seeing oil companies take advantage of this and raising the price more than maybe the market would otherwise dictate? Is this strictly the cap and trade and the emissions regulations doing it, or is it something else?
That is a great question. I think it's going to be a combination of both. The cap and trade is definitely going to raise it because, Washington is already having, all these restrictions about bringing fuel into the state and all this stuff. I can see the oil companies, saying, "Hey, look, we're gonna sprinkle some extra on top for profits this year." How's this? I'm only telling you as a business owner. I'm not an economist or a fuel expert, just to be clear. But it could be a combination of both. But how's this? Either or is bad for truckers. So.
As I understand it, there is a ballot initiative there in Washington state. I think it's Initiative 2117, something like that. And it's designed to reverse this climate law in that state. Can you tell us anything about that effort? Are you aware of it? Have you been talking with people involved with it?
So I've only read about it. I've never talked to anybody involved. And how's this? I think it should go through because how about this? It's not going to be practical. How's this? So raising diesel, how is that going to make less emissions? That's not, because we're still gonna have to move the product. We don't have another newer technology it's not like we've came up with a new technology, like say hydrogen engines are coming in, right? Hydrogen engines are the next new thing. Water vapor comes out of the exhaust. I haven't seen one yet, but let's say they're selling hydrogen trucks and they say, look, don't buy diesel, buy hydrogen and we'll give you a discount, or hydrogen will be cheaper. This is your option. We have no options. This is it. EVs are coming, but even when the EVs come, this is new technology. It's not going to be able to replace all the hundreds of thousands of trucks. I say, guessing there's about 800,000 big rigs that operate in the state of Washington just by itself, or even more. You can't change that overnight. You know what I mean? And no matter how's this, you need a miracle to do something like that. And we're not ready. We're just not ready right now.
Well, and it looks like what they're trying to do, kind of looking at it. And again, as you said, neither one of us is an economist, but still, there's basic laws that I think we're all aware of, supply and demand. And they're trying to basically reduce demand by upping the price. As you said, it seems to me that it's different when you would have to go out and buy an entirely new machine to use the new fuel. You really can't switch those trucks over to something else other than diesel the way they're built now. And the price of exchanging trucks is prohibitive right now.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And one thing I want to bring up that you mentioned, Robert Kiyosaki. Sorry, I'm saying the name. I'm a fan, but Rich Dad Poor Dad. He said oil is the key to civilization. And why did he say that? So how's this? Let's say we get rid of all the trucks. We're still going to need oil, because what do we produce with oil? Gasoline, jet fuel, diesel, heating oil, lubricants, waxes, asphalt, plastics. We can't get rid of oil forever, because unless we figure out another way to make plastics and containers. My favorite is Tesla's. Tesla's use tons of and diesel to make all electric cars. We can't get away from this yet because we haven't found another replacement. So let's say tomorrow we stop all the trucks, the state of Washington is still gonna need tons of oil to produce all these things, because that's part of civilization.
One last question. And you've kind of referred to this a little bit, but you talked about how you've really reduced the number of trucks that you've got running in and out of Washington state. Do you foresee a time where, as a matter of cost control or just coping, that you might have to stop running in some states like Washington going forward?
Yes. So right now we're just making a small profit, if anything. But if regulations continue to go like this, we could get fined, or diesel, let's say is going to be, $3 more in the state of Washington. That's going to cost prohibit not only us, but other truckers. They're going to pretty much block themselves out of bringing product to them. And then by that time, it's going to be too late. There's going to be empty shelves. There's going to be chaos. We can't allow this to happen. That's why I say, it's impractical and not logical. I'm a guy of math, numbers, and science. You could tell me 100 times that this is going to, make Washington State better, but I only believe what makes sense and what is logical, and I can't see the logic in this.
Is there anything else you want to add, or maybe that I didn't ask about that you think I should have?
Yeah, one of the Todd Spencer, the president of OOIDA, said. And I love this quote, and I try to repeat it as much as I can. He said, if you're talking about something that actually really does deliver benefits for all around, you don't have to mandate stuff like that. People gravitate to it. They go after it and say, I want it because it makes everything better. So if they come up with a technology the trucker's going to like, you're not going to have to mandate it like these EVs. They're going to say, hey, I like this technology. We're going to move away from diesel to this technology. And that makes a lot of sense. And like I said, one more thing. The truckers need an affordable hybrid truck with two systems of power. One goes down to continue with the other one, because truckers need a proven technology. Because if the technology fails, like these EVs, the entire supply chain will be dead in the water. And failure is not merely inconvenient, it's going to be catastrophic. This is not an option, especially for the food supply chain of America.
Mike, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on, for support.
That was Mike Kucharski, the co-owner and vice president of JKC Trucking of Illinois, talking about emission regulations in Washington state and how they're affecting trucking companies. As we mentioned earlier, Washington state voters will decide in November on Initiative 2117, which is intended to overturn the Climate Commitment Act. We'll have a link to Landline Magazine's coverage of that on our website, landlinenow.com. That's our show for today. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Control your toll costs and eliminate tolling headaches with Prepass Tolls. Prepass Tolls means toll volume discounts. Just one invoice for all tolls and fewer violations. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife.
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome,
and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us!
Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.